Welcome, everybody. Once again, we're going to do a big board draft, kind of go over my rookie exposures. Welcome, Victor. Thanks for stopping by. I messed with my setup a little bit. I'm going to try something here in a little bit, see if that works. I will go ahead and enter the big board, see where we're at. Still getting the location errors, so. All right, 9 of 12. That's better than I expected. We're going to go to my completed. We'll look at my exposures real quick. So I was kind of wanting to talk about rookie running backs today. And as you can see, these are my exposures. I have a bunch of rookies at the top end. And the thought is, yes, they're all going to be very landing spot dependent. But there's still three more. If anybody wants in, there's three more in this lobby. I'm waiting on a queue. But the theory is you need to hit, like, I believe you'll need to hit a rookie running back this year to have the highest ceilings. There's so many good ones, and these are the ones that I think their ADB is the best. Like Damian Martinez, do I think he's going to be a top 5 running back at any point in his career? Probably not. But could he be Tony Pollard? What Tony Pollard was last year, this year? I don't think something like that is out of the range of outcomes. And getting that in 17th, 18th round is awesome. So in Scatabo, like, I love Martinez, Scatabo, Hampton, Sampson, Genty, and Harvey, as you can see. Draft is starting now. Hey, welcome, Anthony. I'm going to try something a little different here. Take me a minute. I got the... Oh, Anthony did not get in. There was... So I got the 4-hole. I don't see anybody else. That's fine. I'm going to try to pop this board out. Oh. And then set that up over here. There we go. All right, so something's going on with the... Yeah, I'm not sure what my lag is. I'm a JJ at 102 guy. But with Spike Week, it's been messing up putting spaces in here. I thought about doing this draft without it because it does kind of bother me. But I also... hold on. Did that not work? But, all right, well, that's not going to work the way I thought it would, so I'll close it down. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Jahmyr Gibbs, I really do not want to be underweight on him. At the same time, I have a hard time taking him before a Lamb or a Nico or a Puka. I bite the bullet here and there, but I tend to like the running or the wide receivers in the first, and I'm also Bijan over Barkley. And I Anthony says I'm also a JJ at 2 guy. What's the best spot to draft? Yeah, I actually I liked I like the 1 and 2. I dislike the 3 and 4 the most. The 3 and 4 feel the worst to me. In the way that I tier the players, I have exactly 20 players I feel very comfortable with. And at 1 and 2, like I also feel like there's a kind of a short list of players and from 21 to 28 that I like a little more. And like there's a couple of those players that I don't really like. Like I'm not that in on Terry McLaurin. I love McLaurin and like JSN. I think that it's a little too rich for them on that side. So and and Josh Jacobs, like I have a little bit of him, but I also think he needs to be back over here a little more. Like I feel like they're all kind of the same. And from the 6, 7, and 8 spot, and even 5 spot, you can get one of those top 20 and one of those players usually to fall back in over in here. So I kind of like the 5, 6, 7, or like the 9. The 9 and 10 I really like because I also prefer elite quarterbacks. All right, so I don't have very much AJ Brown with. I've got 4% of my JJ teams have AJ Brown, and 26 of my Jonathan Taylor teams have it. So I'm going to even that out a little. But yeah, that's what I feel. I kind of like I removed Christian McCaffrey from that top 20 list. Um, I love Trey McBride and T Higgins. Now, if Higgins falls, I'm going to be very excited about this. Yeah, I love this. So I got JJ, AJ Brown, T Higgins. Um, Anthony says I'm also very pro elite quarterback. If I can get a top 5 quarterback, then I lean on Caleb. Yeah, Caleb Williams is awesome. I love DJ Moore. Like I've moved him. Like him and T Higgins are two players that I've been getting to a lot since T signed. He's actually dropped an ADP, and I feel like he should have rose an ADP before he signed. I think people were expecting him to get traded, and they thought that him with Drake May maybe was going to be better. But I think where he's at is where he needs to be to have the best production. He and like I've actually added him to those like to the top 20 players. So, but I'm so exposed on him. Like if I go to my exposures, he's my number one non-rookie wide receiver on exposures, and actually Jefferson is my number 2. So, but I don't have a lot of AJ Brown, so this makes this unique. Um, so yeah, I tend to feel like I get boxed out almost like unless somebody falls, like right here. I love this draft because somebody pulled Bucky up. Now, if somebody pulled like T Higgins or somebody else up, that's what I need to like the 3 spot or the 4 spot. The 3 spot, I need that to happen twice. And I also need McCaffrey to go since I'm out on McCaffrey. Very similar thoughts is why I'm okay with early pick because in second and third round, I'm perfectly fine with both Moore and Higgins. I've been avoiding McLaurin and Wilson. I'm not necessarily avoiding them, but I don't get to them much. Yeah, like I want some JSN, but I don't want him there. Like I was taking some of him when he was in the middle of the third. The Seahawks offense has a chance. Well, they got rid of Cup, or they got Cooper Cup, who also plays slot. They signed MVS. They got Sam Darnold, right? So Sam Darnold, we know, can't do much with interior pressure. And the Seahawks had one of the worst interior or offensive lines and like guard center guard combo. Josh Norris talks about it all the time. It was the worst in the league. They, if they don't get that fixed, Sam Darnold might just see ghost again. Like that. That's something that could definitely happen. Um, but another thing about it is every sign shows that they want to run the ball this year. That doesn't mean that JSN can't produce. That just means that they're going to try to run the ball and get down a distance. Like they'll probably have a lot of 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s, stuff like that. All right, we'll go ahead and bring up the board. Hampton went. Somebody I've been getting to a lot lately is Rashee Rice. I kind of went over that a couple weeks ago. Somebody I don't get to very often is Jalen Hurts. I think here I just take Hurts with the AJ Brown stack. Having Jefferson, having Higgins and AJ Brown might be kind of unique. AJ Brown, weirdly, at the beginning of this cycle, was getting drafted at the back end of the fourth. Like he was back over here from like 33 to 37. So unique combos with him aren't necessarily as unique as you would think, most likely. Although, I mean, most of the tournament he's been up over here. Sam Laporta at 51. All right, so here I could take Rome as a 3rd or 4th wide receiver, or go ahead and take Kittle. I think on this team, I think I want George Kittle. I've talked about Kittle before. Last year he was wide receiver 1 or tight end 1. He was also in points per game, he was the highest. Yeah, that's exactly right. Hurts and Brown not unique, but paired with JJ and Higgins, it probably is. Yeah, but Kittle, like IU going to be hurt the first part of the season, most likely. Some people think that injury is worse than they actually have been leading on. Like, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. We'll find out more whenever all that stuff starts coming out in training camps and stuff like that. Until I start hearing stuff about him, I'm not going to be very heavy on him. I was heavy on him last year, even after he was injured in preseason, which I thought was just him lying, trying to get more money and using the injury as a way, like a mild injury, as a way to not practice while he was holding out. Apparently, it kind of feels like he was hurt because when he got there, he wasn't that good. And then that same knee, I think, is the one that got injured. So there, I'm going to take some Ayuk whenever he falls, but not that often. Um, they Kyle Shanahan will figure some things out, and George Kittle will definitely produce. Like he's always produced, and I don't see that changing whenever they have more targets to go around. They lost Debo, and Ayuk's not going to play at the beginning. There's still questions. I love Ricky Pearsall, but there's still questions on Ricky Pearsall. So I want to have, I'm right at 10% on Kittle, and that's kind of where I want to stay. Earlier, I mentioned I've gotten more into Rashee Rice. I, for those who haven't watched that often, like I think it was 2 episodes ago, I said something with because of the structure of this tournament being 3 of 12, I do think the Ayuks and Rasheed Rices are more viable because you have like if you get them to the 1 of 10 weeks, like that's the main thing. You just need to advance them to the playoffs. Like that's why you're taking them. That's why Rasheed Rice still has a late 4, early 5th ADP, and why Ayuk still has a late 7th ADP. So with that, like I wasn't really thinking about that whenever I started these tournaments, but I've started thinking about that, and I think that's a really good way. Like I think that makes Rasheed Rice really good because he was pretty elite whenever he played last year. So I've actually recently taken him in a bunch of drafts, which I've got my exposure to where I want it now, so I can actually start taking some of those other players around him a little more. Here I can start with a rookie or try to take a veteran to guarantee some touches. Since I don't have any other, I think I'm going to go with James Conner on this team. Yeah, David Montgomery has been falling a lot. Like, I got Montgomery at like 79 yesterday. That is by far the latest I've seen him go. No, it was at 7. Yeah, it was at 77 I got him. Reason I remember is because I got Jameer Gibbs in the 5th. So I got a round discount on the 30 touchdown combo that was last year. I agree. I will definitely be taking him a lot if he's in the if he becomes a staple of the 7th. I'm probably gonna have way too much. All right, so here I think some rookie upside. I don't I don't ever get to George Pickens. This is kind of the range I'm okay taking Pickens. I prefer Matthew Golden. I'm going to go ahead and take George Pickens though. I haven't been able to bring myself to do it much. It's 11 picks of value. He is still falling. Maybe that's where his ADP ends, but I'm okay securing somebody who could be a spike week god. Bring the board back up, get to comments. Najee goes at 77. He's kind of moving up into this range with the other veterans, David Montgomery, James Conner. Yeah, the Detroit running back duo on the same team holds special place in Anthony's heart in fantasy. Yes, like I mean, imagine being on both Dolphins running backs 2 years ago with Achan's massive spike weeks and Mostert's, I think it was 18 touchdowns. That would have felt pretty good. Like, I'm not going to make it a big part of my portfolio. I'm not going to move Montgomery up in my ranks just because I have Gibbs or anything. But I do think it's something that if you feel like the rest of your stuff is pretty solid, it's a really good way to guarantee a bunch of points. And in my eyes, that opens you up to go even a little more extreme on drafting these rookies that I really like late in the draft. Like RJ Harvey's, Damian Martinez, DJ Giddens, Scatabo, and then some of the flyers as well, like adding 2 flyers to that team, kind of like a Brashad Smith or a like Jarquez Hunter. Somebody I'm going to start taking a lot more of is Trevor Etienne. I never got around to watching his tape, and right before this, I watched it. Like I watched a highlight video, and I found it in 2 games, like full games of every snap. I watched that. He looks a lot better than I actually thought he did. Early, I found a video, and I don't know, maybe I wasn't in the mood to watch him, and I don't know what I didn't see then. Like something like because he's definitely a better pick than I thought. All right, so I don't need. I have every position in decent shape. I don't. I mean, obviously my running backs are a little weak. I think here I take Josh Downs or Travis Hunter. I I'll take some Josh Downs. If Hunter makes it back around, maybe I take him. Whoop. Hold on. Something's. All right. It's not just the production, but they are each other's insurance policy. If Monty gets hurt, Gibbs breaks fantasy. Yeah. And if Gibbs gets hurt, Monty definitely pays off. Like he doesn't break fantasy, but he definitely looks really good. Yep. Just spam the rookies. I agree. All right. So he did not make it back. I don't know what I want to do here. I don't really like any of the running backs. I might take Charbonnet. I could finish up tight end. I think I'll get a rare Charbonnet share here. I really do like Charbonnet. I'm pretty scared. So I have a bunch of Kenneth Walker. I am a little scared of their offensive line though. Kenneth Walker is more likely to break a gigantic run like from a offensive line that didn't block that well than Charbonnet is. Charbonnet's really good at taking what is blocked. Anthony's pointing out same thing I've been noticing. Hunter rising rapidly inside 90 to 100 the last few drafts. I'm happy to spam him. Yeah, I've already got 16%. Um, that's kind of where I want to end at is 16. And even if he raises another round, I'm probably done since I've got almost all of mine at the 10 to in rounds 10 and 9. And I actually have a few shares of them at like in the 12th round and stuff. So 98 drafts into the big board. I would feel fine. Like if I didn't take another share, I would still end up at like 11% or so. Yeah. Yeah, he does. Anthony also does not like Charbonnet apparently. I I actually one of my better performing teams last year actually had Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Um and obviously only one of them performed each week. It was not like the Money and Gibbs thing at all. Yeah, so get your shopping done early. There's several players like that. Like I was looking back through my first like 7 drafts. 3 of my first 4 drafts, I took Bayshaw Tootin in the very last round before any hype. And the next draft I took, in the 5th draft, I took, what's his name? Jarquez Hunter, who gets drafted in probably 50% of drafts now. I was also taking Khalil Mullings, who does never gets drafted anymore. I still think he's a good player. He's a rookie that I actually had so much of him. I had like 18% Mullings. I haven't selected him in like probably 30 some drafts, and I still have 10%. There's a lot to like about 3. That is good value. You got, but I am insanely worried that literally every snap he took last year was just out of the shotgun and to the sidelines. Scary game tapes. Who are we talking about? All right. Isaiah Pacheco, I still have not clicked him a single time. I will, if the Chiefs do not draft somebody, I will take a bunch of shares after the draft. There's several players that I'm doing that with. Like, hey, when I get more information, I can be super in. Hey, this fell perfectly. I get Scatabo, one of my favorite rookies, also in the thumbnail. How do I pass it up? It was fated. This team needs him. Fate paid off. That's how was I to deny one of my favorite players falling to me at exactly his ADP when I actually do need that position as well. Running backs right now, James Conner, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Scatabo. That feels pretty solid to me. Look at my. So I kind of need JJ to fall back to me at 141 or to just take him now. I could take a naked Justin Herbert, but it's been a while. I'm actually low in exposure on Colston Loveland. I think I just take Loveland and possibly be done at tight end. I really like Loveland. I just the way I have 15% Bowers and 15% Trey McBride and 11% or 10% George Kittle. So I tend to not need tight ends in this range too often. And I'm also like 13% Tucker Craft. So like those are the tight ends that I'm getting to the most. And I just don't usually need a tight end in this range. So I haven't got to him enough. And this is a team that he actually fits well. So I'm going to take a stab there, get a little youth. I don't have that many rookies here. I think it's just Scatabo and Loveland. Okay, about Tootin. Yeah, they I'll show you my notes on them after this draft is over. I actually have this file that I made back in January and I went through a bunch of these players. I've updated some of these players with their uh, actual measurements from the combine and all. But I have some note, like my personal notes by watching everything I could at that time. There wasn't necessarily game tape on every player at that point, but if I can find, I like to watch a highlight tape and then two full games if I can find like every snap versus Georgia or something like that. That's what I like to do because the highlights show you what their potential is and their ceiling is. And then the game tape can show you like are they able to do things when things don't go well? And that's actually something I thought Tootin did really well. Uh, but yes, that was a concern with the shotgun. I've been 3-6-8-3 without fail, but the idea of 2-8-8-2 becomes more appealing by the day. Thoughts? I I purely just think about the draft capital. Like on this team, if I get JJ right here, unless he already, I guess he already went. So I think I don't get to Bryce Young. I love Bryce Young this year, and I only have 8%, and I'm taking three quarterbacks in most of my drafts. He has a little bit of a rushing floor, and he's super easy to backstack. I mean, look at this. All of these players. I actually like Jalen Coker more than Xavier Legette. If Legette makes it all the way back, I'm going to go like right here. This is my next pick. One of these three players: Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, and Jalen Coker. So that's one reason I was super happy about taking him because of that. It means my running backs are probably going to struggle a little bit. Probably going to have to go a bunch of running backs after that. But I'm now done at tight end. Possibly, if I feel good about everything, I will add a third tight end at the end here. I'll take Xavier Legette. He's the one I stack the least. His ADP has actually been falling a lot. I believe his ADP was like 125 or so not too long ago. But on this team, it makes sense. If he breaks out, he's going to be, I think he'll be a spike week guy. I have a really high floor with Jefferson, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, and then three, two massive spike week guys, in my opinion, and Leggett and Pickens. Like, Leggett may not work out, but if he does, I believe it'll be in a spike week way. And Josh Downs was very consistent with no quarterback last year. So like I'm pretty close to being done at wide receiver. I mean, I'll probably take two more. But one thing you want to do, as you're saying, you're trying to figure out what build works the most. I think you just basically just look at the capital you spent. Like I spent a fourth round pick on Jalen Hurts, so I'm expecting him to be the quarterback one on this team. If he's not the quarterback one, team might not be great. But Bryce Young also has rushing upside and had a spike week or two late in the year. He was quarterback one, I think, one of the weeks. I I think he was quarterback one or two, like week 14 or something, week 14 or 15. Uh, can't remember exactly, but he was way up there. So yeah, I loved Legette's profile coming out as a potential absolute monster. He didn't work out last year. Coker was the better guy. We'll see what happens. It's still the same coaching staff there, so they are the ones that believed in Leggett. They also believed in Coker because they drafted both of them last year. Anthony says Leggett size speed strength combo was wild. I feel like he's underrated, but to be fair, he hasn't done much. Johnson was the alpha in the early year, and then he got hurt. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if he really got hurt. He he let like it, I don't remember. Did he get hurt or did he just get benched and then traded? I mean, yeah, but Bryce Young, obviously, yes, he got sat down and all that. So I I believe he'll start all year. So I think I can be done at that position. Like unless I get a slide at a second tight end, I'll be done there. Yeah, I just remember it was cloudy. It was like he was hurt and then he was okay to play, but then he got traded. Like there was a lot of things going on, and I don't think we will ever know the actual like exactly what happened. Or maybe we already do and I'm just not remembering it correctly. I would love to get one of these two running backs. I'm kind of out on Jalen Wright, so I'm glad he went. And I like Garendo a little more than Ray Davis, although I really like both of them. Um, I'll go ahead and take Garendo here. He gives me a team stack with George Kittle. I would love for one of these two players to make it all the way back around. I don't think Thielen will. I should probably not take Thielen. I should probably actually save that spot for a rookie upside swing. Yeah, that's exactly why. I want to try to get 15 to 16% on Garendo and stay at zero on CMC. Anything funny happening? I haven't seen anything funny. I might have missed something. But it looks like for the most part, every drafter here is doing some pretty reasonable stuff. Nobody's gotten. I haven't seen anything that I'm like, what are you doing? But I've also been talking a lot and not paying 100% attention to what they're doing. Ray Davis comes back. I wasn't planning on it, but I mean, I could. I eventually will also stream some drafters drafts. If anybody, once I get a little more comfortable with this, I still need to make some graphics and stuff for, like, copy the graphics over and stuff to make a thumbnail and stuff like that for the drafter stuff. But the $3 drafters tournaments, I mean, it's completely different because it's total points. Uh, but I do those pretty much all day just because it's something to do while I listen to other things if I'm actually available. We'll go ahead and look through, kind of skim over these ADPs and see if anybody's doing anything wild. Like, nobody took two early quarterbacks. McLaurin went Chase Brown all the way up here. That's a little unique. It's not like it's not objectively bad. I mean, you can get him at 42 reasonably often. So I wouldn't do it, but I mean, if you want 30% Chase Brown, that right there is how you get it done. Rasheed Rice go like, oh yeah, the Laporta. I remember that. Laporta went before George Kittle and 10 picks before ADP. But Laporta almost always goes over here and on the right side of the board. So, I mean, if you're trying to get unique, that makes sense. Um, but I see Laporta go on this side sometimes, but not very often. It's usually on the other side. Caleb Johnson falling down to where his ADP should be. Yeah, Travis Hunter at 90. Christian Kirk going at 102. Steph Diggs 129. Diggs, I'm kind of in on right now. Like, I do think that he ends up in New England, and since I have 17% Drake May, I'm going to end up with a lot of Diggs. Brown and Kyron always drop on the streamer drafts because everyone drafts wide receivers. I get them almost every time, but sometimes both. The value is mental to get either of them in the fourth. Kyron is scary. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Whenever Sean McVay said that they wanted, like, he was naming the studs, he named Puka, Tyler Higbee, and then he named both running backs, Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. That to me means that he wanted to use Corum more last year. He just wasn't able to. That was before Devontae Adams was on the team, and while the Cooper Kupp trades were a rumor. That was the first sign that Cooper Kupp was like absolutely going to be off the team. Not that any report was anything other than that, but that alone, like, yeah, I don't have very much Blake Corum, and both of those kind of scare me because I'm kind of scared to draft Kyron. And if he does if he has the same workload that he's had the last couple of years, and I know Sean McVay has always done that, but they've also never really had a good backup. Like, they just never have. So, do I could take I think I'd take Damian Martinez. I like OTS off the schneid. Believe there's a massive gap after Martinez and Eckler. And there's 3 receivers I still like that are rookies, and there's tons of receivers late. And since my number one running back is James Conner, I definitely need some help. Like, I I will need that more. All right, so all three of them make it back to me. I don't know. Who should I take here? Should I take Besh? I think I'll take a Restrepo share. His ADP is a little lower. It did start off a lot higher. I need to get some more Jalen Royals. Steve Smith Sr. really likes him. I didn't love him though. And I can definitely be wrong. Anthony, I'll hold the faith. McVay always starts scaring people off Kyron. Last year, Pat returns. Back to back seasons, number 6 running back, and the offense is better with Adams. Maybe Kyron gets a couple extra. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's going to be a hard thing to completely fade. And what I've done 3 of the bigger boards now. And the players that I'm really scared of that I am fading a little bit, I'm just taking a share of them in a bigger board and being like, you know what? I'm invested now. So because I like everybody like I would personally rather have an elite quarterback over Kyron Williams. That doesn't mean I'm always going to draft Lamar before Kyron. Restrepo has been falling. I think because we haven't heard anything about him, haven't watched much tape, but feels more reliable. Yeah, so some of the reports coming out of the combine was, I think it was McShay talking about like what he heard about, and apparently everybody was like several GMs and scouts were like, this Restrepo guy, when we watch him, he's just always open. Like no matter what, he's just always open. And that's what I felt when I watched the limited amount of film that I had to watch. So hearing that made me feel a little better. Didn't make me feel good about the shares of Restrepo I have at pick 130, but I mean, if he works out, that's not going to matter. If I haven't said it yet, like and subscribe if you are not. That'll help. Thank you. Yeah, 31%. What's funny is Josh Allen's the one I don't have much of. I think I've got 30% between the 3 of them. I'm like 12% Josh, or 13%, 11%, and like 4% on Josh Allen. I believe in my opinion, Josh Allen should be the 3rd drafted. And I have Jaden above him, and Josh Allen usually goes before Jaden Daniels. So I just end up with a lot more Jaden. Like the way I look at it, it's pretty close. I'll just take whichever one the 3rd one is. But if I have to make a choice, I'll usually take Jaden. I also love Zach Ertz this year, so that makes Jaden a lot easier for me to click. And the Josh Allen stacking partners, I don't like as much. I've got Allen, Hurts, and Burrow covered, but underweight on Lamar and Jaden. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you have to cut your exposure somewhere, right? Like you don't have to like not all these decisions are going to be easy. Like being 3 to 4% Kyron Williams doesn't feel great. But being able to be 15% Mike Evans, Xavier Worthy, and then 11 and 12% on Jaden and Lamar, and then still have 10% Marv, like I have to cut somebody from that group. Like Kyron going here, that's not very common. So I don't know, like, and so he's just one of those players that I haven't been able to get to that much. And I don't really think that the Rams will draft a running back. Maybe they do. I used to think that was like a definite thing. So right here, I feel pretty strong about my team. I think, I mean, if Besh makes it back, I'll take him. Yep, I'll go ahead and just take Besh. He seems to be falling a little bit as well. So, but I have 25% Jack Besh. I was getting him in the 18th, 19th round, and then he went up to where he was like drafted in the 16th round. And that's actually what you're seeing right now is the ADPs are moving up and down quite a bit. And it happened like as soon as news cycles hit and somebody learned something, everybody's like, "Oh, I didn't have any of this player. I need him." Like Bashal Tootin. Where did he go here? Am I not high enough? I am not seeing him. Okay, 134. So that's kind of at ADP. Anthony also, I was big on Besh, and since the news broke that they think he should change the tight end, he's dropped. Yeah, but that's like a couple fantasy analysts say that. That's not the NFL saying that, right? Like maybe I'm wrong, maybe I haven't heard the right thing. And if I say anything that's actually wrong, I want you to call me out because I'm going off of that information that I believe. I haven't seen anybody from the NFL say that they like him that way, or any of the like McShay's or anybody like that saying that the people they talk to in the NFL believe that. I've just heard some fantasy people say that they think he's too big. Okay. Thought it was the NFL guys. I'm not genuinely concerned. Yeah, and maybe I'll dig into that a little bit. I'm not quite sure. Like, and I'm sure some people in the NFL think negatively and positively about everybody. So I think I can go ahead and add another tight end to this since I feel pretty okay about this. I could have been done at two tight ends. I'm pretty into Tyler Higbee though. Let's look at, I don't know. What do we got? Actually, I'll just take a Savion Williams share. And then like I feel oddly, I actually feel pretty good about this running back core with James Conner, Zach Charbonnet, Scatabo, Garendo, Ray Davis, Damian Martinez. That feels very good for the depth I have at wide receiver. And I like Savion Williams. You might get a little bit of running back upside because there's a chance that he ends up playing like some wildcat stuff and some odd things. I so I like him late as a if you don't feel like you need anything, he could be like an X Factor type guy. So with my last pick, it's going to be either a running back or a tight end. I guess I could just take Shipley. I actually I like Shipley as a contingent upside pick. I really liked him last year. I thought that I didn't think that they would give Saquon every carry the entire season. But I did just say earlier that I want to get some more Trevor Etienne. So maybe this will be my first Trevor Etienne share. I haven't got him yet. I if I'm wrong on something, I can admit it. I make all kinds of mistakes, not just in best ball. So like if I'm wrong and I get convinced, that's fine. Yeah, Tootin at 134. Like so every once in a while you see Tootin fall back down. So every time there's good news on a player or bad news on a player, everybody like either gets real bullish on them or doesn't. And then once a couple days go by, you see their ADP start to slip back to where it was. It most of the time, unless it's like hey, this player has been hurt or something like that, or hey, they're gonna get suspended, stuff like that, like stuff that actually affect the player. So we'll go through the team. Quarterbacks: Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young. Running backs: James Conner, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Scatterbo, Isaac Garando, Ray Davis, Damian Martinez, hopefully Trevor Etienne. Wide receivers: Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, George Pickens, Josh Downs, Xavier Legette, Xavier Restrepo, Jack Best, Savion Williams. Two tight ends: George Kittle, Colston Loveland. I'm pretty okay with this. Let's see any late round darts that people are taking that I haven't really been thinking of. I like to watch what other people do, and if a name pops up that I'm not that familiar with, I like to make a note of it and I go look at it. Uh, I I have one share of Kareem Hunt now. I took him at 236 on a Patrick Mahomes team, and I hated it. Like it might still be fine, but I feel pretty confident they're going to take a running back. Look, successful 3 rookie running backs. That works out. Yeah, and I mean I probably shouldn't have taken Savion, and probably like not taking Savion and taking Tyler Higbee might have been the right call looking at it, but wide receivers spike very hard and rookies spike late. So I kind of just wanted to add another potential 26, 27 point player. Like if he works out and he has spikes, those are the kind of weeks he has the ability to do. Yeah, and I'll agree that's a light running back room, but I mean this is just a zero RB team with an elite quarterback and an elite tight end, so you can't be great everywhere. But yeah, I mean, if you would like to do a draft, I could log into another one. If I will, let me bring this up on my phone. All right, so Anthony's down for one. If anybody else is down for one, you're welcome to join. I'll give a 10-second countdown. I'm not sure how this works. Apparently, you can right click on a video and go to like stats for nerds or something, and on that screen it'll tell you what the delay is of the stream. I think. So I'll give you a second to do that, and then I'll give a 10-second countdown. Oh, well, before I go into this next lobby, I'll actually go into this and show you because I said I'd show you what I had on Baishal Tootin. So whenever I watched him, my note was he explodes to the hole, but is patient enough to wait for blocks. Very subtle movement. Like he doesn't move fast, but he moves very slow. Like he sets everything up is what he does. And he does it to avoid being hit. Game breaking speed, acceptable pass catching, and vision is incredible. So the vision is incredible, goes with the subtle movements. He notices when a defender is way away from him, and he understands his speed and his quickness enough that he knows how to move without being touched. Like, yes. And he was actually doing this with a hampered leg, I believe. Oh, you're on your phone. So that was the note that I had. And one reason I was willing to throw 20th round darts on him. I'm not really in on him at the current ADP, though. Like, I got my shares then. All right, so I will enter this big board in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are 7 of 12, waiting for 5. Gonna take a little drink. Yeah, I tried to do something. I'll have to look into it, but I tried to bring up the big draft board and make a second window, and there's a button to where you can just hide things and to just unhide it over and over again. But for some reason, it didn't like that link whenever I put it into the bar. I think that would probably be the best way to watch. I think Anthony, I think I'm in. Same numbers. Appreciate you trying to help. Yeah, it's all good. Well, it's something that'll help you if you ever do these from like on anybody else's stream from a computer. You'll be able to do that, right? Like you'll be able to look at the timing difference, and then whenever they go to enter, you'll know about when to click if you care that much to enter their drafts. I I like I enjoy the community that's around the best ball right now. Like PPR Tyler, best ball guy, they're really good. And then uh and the other Anthony, best ball on call, like he's super chill. Like he's easy listening on his streams. My favorite, hey, Sus Edwards. We know him, and you are at the 5 hole. It's fun to be on stream, but I mostly like the streamer drafts because the casuals are so bad. Yeah. Uh, well, being in the streamer drafts, um, the streamer drafts, you can push quarterback a little more, and you're less likely. It's not definite, but it's possible to push quarterbacks. In the non-streamed rooms, you just have to draft your quarterback a round before they're supposed to go. Like if you set up a double stack, you pretty much have to you have to guarantee yourself that you don't lose that double stack. Sus Edwards, he was in Tyler's stream yesterday. He's been a part of like Fantasy Dog Pound for a long time. He's been around the best ball streets for a long time. He goes into chats. He's a good dude. If like I chat here and there in the Fantasy Dog Pound, currently drafting a risers and fallers. He's in there quite a bit talking. Yeah, this is. I mean, I'm pretty new to this as well. Like last year, I drafted a whole bunch, but I was new to it. Th- do I want to take JJ again? Do I want a Bijan team? Do I want to flip the board? Well, I think I'll take Bijan. I kind of like Bijan at 3 over JJ. Um, it's kind of weird. Like, there's a better chance a a wide receiver falls from the top 20 than a running back. And I also don't have a Bijan Jonathan Taylor stack, which I or pairing, which I would love to have. Like, I would love to land a Bijan Jonathan Taylor team. Like, I'd be ecstatic for that. And I haven't done that. I did a Bijan Bucky team, and like the entire time I was just thinking, if that was Jonathan Taylor, I'd feel so much better about this. And I like Bucky. I just love Jonathan Taylor. Gibbs is the only guy in Gibbs the only guy in low on I'm low on and want to get bigger on. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So Gibbs is the player I don't get to that often. Like I'm kind of out on Saquon completely. He has to hit the nuts again. Like yes, he smashed last year and he was the number one running back points per game, but not by much. And he was beating the people in the second round, but the entire second round was receivers who busted. This year, like, is he going to smash Bijan and Gibbs's production by 40 points like he did the entire second round last year? I think it's easier to fade, and he has to hit the nuts again. And I mean, that's possible. Their offensive line is insane. Intentionally zero on Saquon after being. I'm not zero, but I'll take him at like 5 sometimes if he's there. Oh yeah, the 2K thing. Yeah, he and didn't he have like an insane amount of touches? Like just an insane amount. I can't remember the number. Maybe not, but like he was just ripping off big runs. And it wasn't ever even in the first half. It was always in the second half. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't want to say 400 touch, but I thought that's what it was. Um, so yeah, 400 touch. Like we all, if you've been playing this as long as I have, like just football, fantasy football, and for years, you'll remember Cadillac Williams. We all remember Cadillac Williams. He had like 424 touches his rookie season, and then he was completely dead after that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's another really good point. 20 game season, including all the playoffs, huge load, or physically and emotionally. Yeah. And like I'm not saying this is something everybody would do. Like the Chiefs don't have this problem, but some people once they've reached their goal, they don't have anything to go for. Like I don't believe Saquon will be that kind of guy, but it's possible. So this is why I don't like the 3 spot because I take T Higgins all the time, and I have enough T Higgins now that I don't love it. Maybe and Trey McBride. I think I'll just take Josh Jacobs. I don't love it, but this is a very, very safe running back room. Like, that is why I don't like this range. The players I like, I'm so exposed on. Like, McBride with Bijan, I was at 25%. Like, I kind of want to spread that out a little more. And, since we're doing something different, we'll also get JSN. Hey, it's working correctly this time. Nice. It's not puffing everything out. Anthony says, yeah, the number of teams that make or win the Super Bowl and don't even make playoffs following year is absurdly high. Oh yeah. And I I'm wondering what happens with that. Right? Like and wasn't there like weird rumors about AJ Brown getting traded? Come out of nowhere? Never heard anything from like I don't know where that came from, but I heard some people talking about it. It never made sense to me. Uh, I mean, I'm sure New England would love to pay anybody to play wide receiver, but yeah, I heard that that was going on, and I also like with Dallas Goddard. Like maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe they're like, hey, we got one. We can retool or something. I don't know. I do not believe that. Nick Sirianni doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be okay only winning one. He Nick Sirianni. I do not like Nick Sirianni. Uh, not only was I rooting for my Chiefs, but more than anything, I was actually rooting for Nick Sirianni. Like, I love Saquon Barkley. I love AJ Brown. I like Devontae Smith, but I just didn't want Nick Sirianni to win a Super Bowl. That was my thing. I it sucks that it happened against KC. It is what it is. Can't change it. They He absolutely outcoached Andy Reid that game. The players outplayed him. Like that game was nuts. Yeah, and remember too, you bring up the number of teams win the Super Bowl or make it and don't even come back. Like 2 years ago, they were the team. I actually bet on Tampa Bay to beat them in the playoffs, where they looked unstoppable for like 10, 11 weeks of the season. And all of a sudden, they just kind of fell apart, right? Like, so we know that there is volatility in that locker room. They banded together and played really good last year, and that's great. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just take JMO here. I kind of think that there's a little tear break there. I can't get my I Zay Flowers is a player. I don't understand. I didn't understand it last year. I was right. We'll bring this chart up again. Go to Zay Flowers. So he only had 1 week of, I believe that's 23 plus points, and 4 weeks of 17 points. And then usable weeks, I think, is like 12. So he had 6 weeks that were duds, basically. And that's not bad, but you would think his spikes would be higher, right? Like, let's look up Bateman. Bateman, yeah, I guess he didn't have any that big. But, and as a football player, I absolutely love him. Do I just take Godwin here? Do I take Kittle again? You know, I think I just take Kittle again. I moved Chris Godwin way up my rankings because the first cycle, like the entire little board, I was drafting kind of expecting a team to give Chris Godwin a lot more money than the Bucks were willing to. And that McMillan, and I was in on McMillan and out on Godwin. And I also wanted to see like exactly what Best Ball guy said. He wanted to see what happened with the contract. If the contract was big, that means that he's probably doing pretty well in the rehab. Like, and that's how I was playing it. And as soon as it was fine, I moved him way up my board because if he's even part of what he was last year, like getting him at 50, 51 is perfectly fine. I'm not sure if I was more shocked they got 22 more or yeah. Yeah, like he got that much money and he turned down more. Like I'm going to assume he's pretty healthy, right? So May Blossom here, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. I mean, it could be what you need. And that's the kind of person like you want to look at it, see what's going on. It almost looks like he's auto drafting off rankings. If you notice things like that, you know that like later in the draft, if you're pushing a quarterback towards that side, that it's probably not going to come back, right? Because Josh Allen, you don't need to stack at this point for sure. But Joe Burrow, you don't need to. Like Gesicki's perfectly like I think a backstack Gesicki is fine, but I don't think I'm going to do that at pick 58. I think it would have to be like pick 67, 68 before I would even start to entertain that. That's just my opinion. Um, but yeah, back to Godwin. He was crazy last year. Like, let me bring that back up. So if you go points per game last year, he only played 7 games, but he was 16.11, number 2. And out of the 7 weeks, all 7 were 12 plus points. And I believe these numbers are 7 or 12, 17, 23. I haven't found I found the file or the place to do that. But he had one gigantic spike, 3 good spikes of 17 or more, and then every week was good, right? Like that's awesome. We'll go ahead and take Jawan Jennings, the higher ranked ADP guy here. Who knows? Maybe I could push Ricky Pearsall back around this corner and triple stack and then get Brock Purdy sniped from me. That sounds like a good time. Who's in? Anthony. I have Godwin higher in my rankings too, right next to Sutton, even considering, yeah. And yeah, I was very in on Jalen McMillan, and I thought that taking him at basically basically in this area right here where we're drafting right now, I was super good on that. So this player here taking Brandon Ayuk is incredibly good for me because I have George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, and if I take Ricky Pearsall here, the theory is nobody should take Brock Purdy 20 picks before ADP if they don't have a Niner. So I have a triple stack of a team. Brock Purdy's ADP is, I believe, 104. It's 100. And the Ayuk drafter is on the inside of me. So if I didn't take Pearsall, like it almost kind of forced me to take Pearsall, which is what I wanted to do anyway. But because if I wanted the double stack Purdy, but if he goes further on, like who's to say that they don't just take Pearsall there and pull him up 8 spots, right? So that worked out very well. And like even if Ricky Pearsall would have won at 74, I'm still gonna have first shot at the Purdy guy right here. Yeah, I seen you got the Hurts. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like it. Lions running back, Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't take a lot of McLaurin, but he can absolutely spike when you need it. Like that is a guy who's very good. Are you actually in on Najee? I want Najee. I think that's the correct spot for him to go. I think him, Warren, Tracy, Caleb Johnson, Tony Pollard are all pretty similar. I've seen him go in the previous round and before Connor and Montgomery. I'm not comfortable taking him before Connor and Montgomery or Judkins. So I don't know where other people only had 2 shares. Wanted to open up a stack. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like not being able to stack McLaurin ever. Oh, he even went the pick right before. I didn't notice that. That sucks. That's happened to me twice. I have like 7 shares of McLaurin, and that's happened to me twice. I on those teams I didn't have AJ Brown to stack Hurts though, so it didn't feel that good. It felt even worse, I'm sure. So I'm going to take Brock Purdy here whenever my pick comes around, assuming nobody snipes him. If you want, Anthony, you can take Brock Purdy unstacked. Have at it. I'll just laugh about it. I'll just be like, all right, guy. Good job. Darnell Mooney, he's slowly fallen down the board, which is kind of odd. Like, I don't. He was so consistently good last year, and Penix was a better quarterback than Cousins for sure. That offense is going to be better. Like, why would one of their. I mean, I know that he unlocked London, but unlocking London, doesn't that give more space for Mooney, who's more of a space, like that's what he will do better? Have Najee shoulder to shoulder with Walker. Okay. Yeah, so you're on the other end of the Najee Harris, and I understand that for sure. Hearing that Najee Harris has never had a 40-yard run in his career, and I believe he's only had like one game ever over 20 fantasy points. His floor is extremely high, but his ceiling is non-existent. Oh wow, Hunter. I didn't even notice Hunter at 88. The more teams that come out and say they like him, like the more likely it looks like he's going to play wide receiver. Like maybe Hunter starts going, like by BBM, Hunter's probably going to go before Ted. That's my feeling on it. I feel pretty good about my war room team that has Travis Hunter at 160. Like that team has Hunter at 160 and Devontae Adams at 54. I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty solid everywhere. I could end. Do I just take my second? Yeah, I think I'll just take my second quarterback here. Pair up Jameson Williams, Jared Goff. I think that's fine. I don't know if you were wanting to stack him with your two running backs. I assume not. If you were, I'm not really sorry. Not really sorry at all. I'm here to build out my teams and to chat and have a good time. He's the fastest riser of any player at the moment. Yeah, so earlier I was saying like everybody pushes people way up and then they start to slide back. Like there was a time that Najee was going up here with Connor and Montgomery, right? And he's slowly starting to slide back down. Like I think he's going to settle here. So as soon as a player is rising, most of the time they tend to fall back. Or if they're falling, they tend to kind of slingshot back a little, depending on the reason. Like J.K. Dobbins is pretty much undraftable. Like that's a faller you don't want to take a part in. And fallers are way more risky to take because they're falling than it is taking a too high player that is raising. Yeah, I figured you just wanted the running backs. Brock Purdy and Jared Goff. I'm okay stopping at 2 here. I probably want to get a third, but it's probably time to look at a second running back here soon and a fifth or wide receiver. My next 2 picks will probably be those 2 positions unless something funny happens. J.K. Dobbins at 109. Let's see what this player who I said maybe auto, like he took Jaden Reed at 63. Maybe he's not doing auto draft off rankings. I mean, that's only a couple spots ahead of, I think he's like 66. So maybe he is, maybe he's not. I can't really tell with that pick. Everything else looks like he might have been. So, and even the Bateman thing, the Kelsey thing, all that looks like it could be. Maybe he just personally likes Jaden Reed and moved him up in somebody else's rankings. Maybe that's his own rankings. I don't know. But I haven't been paying attention to the clock. The auto drafters on Underdog never always use the entire clock. I had not been paying attention to the names that much in here. But this one, No Soup for You, that's a good name. We'll look at what Anthony's doing here. Jameer Gibbs, AJ Brown, Stack, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, the Lions running back pair, Najee Harris, Darnell Mooney, Tyler Warren. All of your starting positions are definitely filled. Very solid team. Now all you got to do is fill in the backups and the cracks. The running, I love when Justin Herbert falls like this. If he makes a back around this corner, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead, take Scatabo again. I don't have very much Scatabo with Josh Jacobs. I know that because I don't have much Josh Jacobs. So if Justin Herbert or Drake May make it back around, that's who I'm taking. I love the builds where I get Warren and Loveland at tight end. Yeah. I mean, it's been 2 years in a row, right? That tight end one was a rookie. Or the highest yardage. It's like Laporta was, I think, maybe tight end one. He was really close. And Bowers was number one in receptions at tight end. Look through the rest of the players, see if there's anything I'm missing before I take. Do I want to take? I think I want to take the naked Herbert because of the fall here. And I love Herbert. And Herbert's got more rushing upside than people think. What did the lad person do? He's here. He's got Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Justin Fields. So he's not even going to care. He's not even going to care that I take Justin Herbert here. Not even going to get to upset somebody with that pick. How dare him already have 3 quarterbacks? And he took Justin Fields over stacking Justin Herbert. He does have Garrett Wilson, so that makes sense. And he stacked Debo, and he's apparently going. Yep, and then he stacked Evan Ingram. Like, very well built. He's not upset at all at my Justin Herbert pick. Like, his team is very solid. Everybody's stacked. His running backs, he's kind of a 0 RB. Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren. Drake May at 127 has to feel good. So I'm kind of in on Diggs a little now. When he was going at pick, like, I think he started at like pick 107 or something. I never took him. And now that he's in the 120s, back where Keenan Allen used to be, I do kind of like him. Hopefully I can get, like, Justin Herbert has 2 players to backstack with now. Before Mike Williams signed, he was a lot harder to click naked to me. You decided to start drafting him today. Oh yeah, yeah. If he ends up in New England, like, even if he misses a couple games, he's going to be fine. And people said like he wasn't good last year. I'll bring this back up. He didn't have a big spike, like a nuclear week, but he had 3 weeks out of 8 that were over 17 points, and he had 6 that were usable. So you take that out over a whole season, you know, that's 6 spikes in 12 usable weeks. How can you be upset at that, right? Yeah, exactly. That's said very well. They said he wasn't good because they're used to the outside digs, not slot digs. He's the new Cup. Like, I don't know if we can go to he's Cup, but the Texans definitely used him in the slot, and they, if New England runs him in the same style that they did, in Houston, like he's going to get a bunch of touchdowns. Like I think he had. I just remember I needed some touchdowns, and continually it was him and not the other guys that were getting them. Get my first stack. Quentin Johnston, I really like. Um, he had one nuclear week, 3 spikes, and 9. But I like that. That's fine. And I think that this year his role is, in my opinion, secured. Mike Williams isn't going to affect what Quentin Johnston does anyway. Last year, QJ was the number 3. He wasn't the number 2. He produced like the number 2, but they had the the Josh Palmer role is what Mike Williams is going to do. Mike Williams is probably just going to be better at it, and that means QJ should keep the same role. And that role was productive last year, right? Like, it's hard to argue that that role was productive. What pick are we at? 147. I think I just go ahead, take Jaden Higgins. I do like Jaden Higgins a lot. Uh, Apparently, I heard today, I haven't seen it for sure, but I heard that Jaden Higgins got moved up in leg up rankings, like to 120-ish. I don't know if that's for sure. Um, I don't have a way to fact check that, but if that's true, that's pretty bullish. All right, let's look at what Sus Edwards has been doing. He also went double elite running back, Saquon and Bucky, T. Higgins, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Quinshad Judkins, Calvin Ridley, Jonnu, Christian Kirk, Tank Bigsby, C.J. Stroud to pair with Kirk, Trevor Lawrence with he's hoping Bretton Strange comes back around, and Cam Ward to pair with Calvin Ridley. Like, that's 3 reasonable quarterbacks to have. Anthony Richardson, a great upside pick, a very scary pick. I know a lot of people like to do like with an elite. Some people think it's fine to take Richardson and then Daniel Jones. I mean, you are guaranteeing yourself a 0, but you're also guaranteeing that you have a starter unless you have 2 injuries on the team. So whichever you're more comfortable with, if you want to swing for the gigantic upside of somebody like I don't know, MVS or Kyle Williams or something versus securing a starter to back up your elite quarterback. I think both are reasonable. And for me, if I take Richardson, I just assume he's the guy and that he's mispriced. I have like 13% Richardson, but all of them are on 3 quarterback teams. I kind of like him as a third quarterback, Like if I were to have like Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, and A Rich made it back to me at 147, and I hadn't taken Herbert, I I may take him there because his upside, his elite, like his ceiling is super high. And maybe he's not available in the fantasy playoffs, which is where you really want him. But if he has two spikes in the regular season of 28 points and gives you points over replacement of like 2 weeks, he gives you an extra 14 points because those two quarterbacks only had like 15 points. So you get 13 a week, 26 points for the season, like above replacement. Like that's, I haven't ever got into like the how many points is worth each draft pick. That's something I do need to research. But I feel like 26 points over the course of a season for a 13th round pick with a potential to be a smash is fine. All right, I kind of need a running back here, and all the ones I like are gone. I love Dallas Goedert here, but I do need a running back. And I, whenever the Blake Corum named as a studs of the offense comment came out, I kind of faded it, like ignored it a little bit or didn't notice it. And I'm kind of I should probably listen to that. That some people don't believe in the coach speak or the coach speak index at all. I think he was pretty right on with most things last year. Uh, so not taking him at ADP on a team that needs a running back feels like it could be a mistake. And it allows me to not take Jalen Wright. You like AR-15? You think he's had a bad streak because he's still young? Fewer quarterbacks start. Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point he's had more starts in the NFL than he had in college and high school combined or something like that. It's something absolutely crazy. Uh and this year he hired the quarterback coach, the same one that helped fix Josh Allen. Josh Allen was inaccurate. He wasn't near as inaccurate as A. Rich is, but he was still inaccurate his first year or two in the league. But yeah, the year that if Anthony Richardson has a year to where he figures it out, and you're not on him, especially at these prices, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. All right, what do I do here? Oh, I do not like. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll do it. I'll take the guy I don't like. I got a Jalen Wright share. It happened. We got a room here that also does not believe that Jalen Wright is good. I had like three. I think it said 3% of them. I honestly don't know how it's that high. I was hoping that Harvey or Giddens came back instead of Wright or Goddard. Like that's what I want. I wanted one of those three guys, and none of those three guys came back. Did he have? So Trevor Lawrence is still naked here. Did Bretton Strange go over here? No, he passed on Bretton Strange. Oh, I know what he's doing. He's wanting Parker Washington in the last round. Yeah, and I think it's highly likely that the Colts do take Loveland or Warren. Yeah, that's the best thing about rookies. You slap two rookies on your team, And you're just like, you know what? You could take any quarterback unstacked and say that you're good. You just have to believe. That's all it is. 100% faith-based drafting. Just believe that just take a quarterback and say, "Hey, all of these players are going to go to my quarterback." That's how you do it. Aaron Rodgers at 180. As a third quarterback on a Lamar team. Yeah, we only had a few drafts with Warren and Loveland. You just Loveland and love them. Got it. Yeah. Maybe I'll put out a video on how to do faith-based drafting. I think that should be an entire thing. I think I should the next low dollar tournament that comes out, like if there's another little board, I'll do I'll do a draft to where all I do is faith-based drafting. The entire draft is faith-based. I'll have like 18 rookies and two quarterbacks. I don't know what I'll do. I guess I'll have to take quarterbacks in rounds 2 and 3. Yeah. Just tell everybody how they're wrong and I'm right because all these players are going to end. Maybe you just take five quarterback. Like maybe that's a four quarterback team. You just take four quarterbacks and then you take a whole bunch of rookies, just all rookies and four quarterbacks. Oh no, you just bring Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland up an entire round. You just make sure you get them. Tyler Warren at pick 85. Done. Just I think it would be good. I bet that room would fill really fast if people knew what was going on. Hey, look, he's about. So this is something that I kind of want to take Bretton Strange here, but I'm not going to. The reason I'm not going to is like I should probably do it, but I'm going to go ahead and pass him to the Sus Edwards so he has the option to stack. The reason I'm going to do that isn't to help his team out. It's because there's something that happens that everybody does, whether they realize it or not. When you get sniped on something, if it continually happens, you start to remember who those people are. And you make sure that, like, there are people out there who literally will go into drafts just to ruin other people's teams. And I actually like Gasecki more than Bretton Strange anyway. Um, and the only reason I would have taken Strange there was to even out the exposures a little bit. And if Strange comes back, I might take him. I feel pretty good about my running backs, even though it has Jalen Wright on it. Like, makes me throw up a little. Brock at 1, McBride 24. Yeah, I mean, that would be. You'd have to hope that McBride makes 24. It'd be better out of like the 7 spot, right? Look, at the 7 spot, you could almost guarantee it. So he doesn't come back around. Do I want to double stack him here? None of those are back. Tyler Higbee. Wide receivers. Yeah, I'll just stack up. This team will just have 2 major stacks. Maybe I just take Tyler Conklin and have three-way stacks. Have a Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle stack with Purdy. And then have a Quentin Johnson, Mike Williams, and Tyler Conklin stack. And then with Herbert, and then a solo stack with Jared Goff. Probably not the best thing to do. Overstacking I did a lot of overstacking last year. This year I've not done much of it. Um, so I didn't do great in the overstacking last year. That doesn't mean it's not solid, but I did too much of it. Like that, I learned a lot of lessons last year and what not to do. Eventually, I'll talk about all that. Uh, I'm kind of piecing a bunch of things I did wrong last year together, and I'm by no means the best drafter, but I enjoy it. And I have, like, we're all learning. Like, even the people who won it all, they're learning the game. So, and it's going to change every single year. You try stacking when it's organic or creative. Yeah, like the Mike Williams thing, I pulled him up a couple rounds, but he was also my highest rated wide receiver there. I was looking for hey, thank you, Vapor. Thanks for coming in, getting in the chat, and smashing the like. Appreciate you. Yeah, I at in about like basically before BBM, like before the draft, I'm probably going to go through, like, make a video to where, and I'll probably just live stream it, but go through all of the things I did last year. Like, I'm going to write them all out, the things that seemed to work okay. Go through, like, I had one of the worst advanced rates probably in all of BBM last year. And there were a bunch of reasons for that. Part of that was really bad injury luck, but some of it was also things I was doing and the ways I was building teams, like overcommitting to players who I believed were healthier than they actually were, like Jonathan Taylor. Or not Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Brooks. Uh, I I had it in my head that he was absolutely going to be starting after like week 6, and I ended up with like 23% of Jonathan Brooks. Maybe it's 24, and that was awful. Like, it could have been fine. He did look okay when he came back, and it was going to be his job. But because of that, I also had zero Chuba. So, like, if I'm in on an injured player at all, like Rasheed Rice, not getting them to like over 14% is something I'm going to try to do. Uh, it'll be stuff like that. And just things that I feel like I did wrong. But there's a bunch of those little things that I definitely can improve on from last year. And I'm willing to, like, listen when I do stuff wrong. I will always listen to what it was. All right, so here, kind of want to take a stab on a rookie running back. We'll continue the Trevor Etienne. I know I could probably get him in the next round, but we'll just go ahead and take him. Build right now 3, 6, 7, 2. I'll get one more wide receiver, one more tight end. I'll probably take one of these two guys with my next pick. But yeah, I'm fairly new to best ball too, like I said earlier. Like, I did a ton of drafts last year, but I did a ton of drafts with bad strategy. So, like, I feel like my player takes were fairly okay, but KC's entire offense completely imploded because Hollywood Brown, like, I don't think they were able to run what they wanted to run because Hollywood Brown got hurt. And as soon as they started doing well, Rasheed Rice got hurt, and then Pacheco got hurt, and that was a whole bunch of my exposure as well, was all of them. But I felt like they needed all those pieces to be congruent. So I should have looked at that and been like, hey, if a piece is missing from this, how much is it going to affect things? Stuff like that. Like, and it's easy to look back on things and be like, hey, yeah, I was an idiot, right? Like, very easy to understand, like, to look at it in hindsight and pick out why. This year, I'm going to try to notice those things before I do them. Hopefully, it works out a little better. So, if you want them, you can take them. It won't affect me. I have 6% Kyle Williams. I like him in the last round as a dart throw. I have a pretty old wide receiver core here, very stacked. I don't have any Torrey Horton. I would like to get a share or two of him. I'm actually not completely out on. I'm definitely out on Mac Hollins. Yeah, Spike Week. They made an update, and this thing, like when you click now, it moves stuff around. Then I can click this twice, and it fixes it. And then when I click it again, it's not great right now. Oh, yeah. So one of those rookies is what I'll try to get. Scroll down, look at the end of the draft board, see anything or anybody who's drafted who I'm not familiar with. Sometimes those players are people I'm like, I've never heard of them, and I'll go look them up, and I'll be like, hey, that player's actually worth taking here and there. So, Juwan Johnson is such a good pick now as a third tight end. Hey, he congratulate Bretton Strange. He took Bretton Strange. I'm gonna be shocked if this last pick, 239, is not Parker Washington, because he took Trevor Lawrence unstacked. Oh, I guess he does have Tank. I missed he had Tank Bigsby. That's my bad. But remember Tank Bigsby's year one highlight reel of receptions? I remember. I think it was 7 of them, with 2 of them that doinked off his hands and got intercepted, or something crazy. So I don't think that's the Trevor Lawrence stack he was looking for. And then he let Bretton Strange pass. He was almost 30 picks past ADP at this pick, and it was stacked. Him doing that means that he probably was just in on Parker Washington. Maybe I'm wrong. Lawrence does have a little bit of rushing upside, so there's that. After this, whenever we're done, I'll go through your team if you would like. Look through it and give you my take from all the way down to Warren Loveland. Like, I like it. Loveland's he's that player that I don't want to miss out on. And I am missing out on right now. Like, I need to force myself to get more of him. Okay, yeah. I'll go through your team after I go through mine when this draft's over. Half the time it kicks me out whenever the last person takes their pick, and half the time it just lets me sit here. So he didn't. He took Ray McLeod. I was very interested in what he was going to do. Oh, Dyami Brown. That's what he wanted to do. The $10 million man, Dyami Brown. I mean, he got a double stack that late. That's awesome. All right, we will go back to completed. Let this update. All right, it's updated. That was my 100th draft. Go to view full. All right, my team: Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Cam Scatterbo, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Trevor Etienne. Wide receivers: JSN, Jameson Williams, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Quentin Johnston, Jaden Higgins, Mike Williams, Torrey Horton. Tight ends: George Kittle, Mike Gesicki, Mason Taylor. I have a double stack and a triple stack and a single stack. One, two, three. Guess this team is basically what, the Jackson Five. Then look at your team. Yeah, that like whenever Juwan fell there, yeah, like I don't love taking Josh Jacobs, but taking him actually makes me feel pretty comfortable in with the room. Like I don't get to him much. He's probably the player that now that I have as much Higgins and McBride that I do, and almost all of that Higgins and McBride are paired with the same four players up top, I'm going to look to get those combinations a little more unique and not take them as often, probably. Jacobs is a player that I'm going to feel good about doing that with. Yeah, I don't feel great about it. I do actually think that they'll use two running backs a little more. Maybe I'm wrong. Uh, he talked like he wanted to last year, and then like everything kind of fell apart for them, even worse than Kansas City. Yeah, perfect asset to fill in for what you're trying to do. Yeah, and if you go Bijan or Barkley or Gibbs, and you just follow it up with Josh Jacobs, and I actually need to do it with Gibbs. That's a divisional correlation. Like most of my Jacob shares actually came with JJ for the divisional week 17 correlation possibility. Um, as we know, the last 2 years in a row, maybe it might even be longer, but Green Bay, Minnesota is just week 17, and JJ hasn't performed in any of those. I I do think Marshawn Lloyd is worth a 20th round shot here and there. Um, I have 10% Marshawn Lloyd, so he is like he's the number one running back on my rankings after Martinez goes usually. Like I like him as an upside shot more than the Saint with than Kendre Miller. I feel more because the Saints have a new offensive coordinator, right? The new offensive or the new a new head coach, new everything. The it's the who was it? Is it it's the person from Dallas? Can't remember his name. Um, but new coaches usually want to bring in their own people. Now Kendre was in the doghouse before, so like maybe it's going to be hard for this coach to dislike him more than the old coach did because Dennis Allen hates everybody. So like maybe Kendre Miller is in that same boat. I don't have him there because I think they're more likely to draft a running back. And I'm not saying Green Bay won't. I mean, there's going to be like 25 draftable running backs in this class. So that's almost one a team, right? Like the math just says you're probably going to draft a running back this year or at least sign one in free agency or in as a UFA who is a reasonable shot. Uh, but Marshawn Lloyd was weird last year. He got hurt, then he came back, and then he had like he ended up with some kind of a medical issue after that, like a non-football related medical issue that kind of kept him out the rest of the year. It was like a sickness of some kind. I can't remember what it was. But I don't think they're going to hold that against him. And I mean, we were taking him in what round 14 the entire season last year. So as a 20th round shot, I'm kind of in on it. All right, so now we'll get to your team after that 5 minutes. Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson, Jameis Winston. Talk about upside. Like the 4 games Richardson gives you and the 2.5 Jameis Winston gets you will be very strong, right? Like I love it. Hurts, has missed week 17 the last 2 years. Like, so what's your plan here? No quarterbacks round 17? I like it. Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, Garendo, Martinez, Kendre Miller. Oh, I didn't even notice you had Kendre after talking about that. I I do have. I think I have 4% Kendre. Um, so like I'm not out on him. Yeah, like we got no QB week 17. That's almost as good as the faith based drafting. Like it is way up there. Like it's tier two of strategies for sure. Uh, so I do really like this. You have the absolute floor there. Najee Harris is awesome. Like he is the most floor play in the entire draft. That's not a bad thing. But Garendo, huge upside. Martinez, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. The ultimate faith-based drafting, having faith that even without, you know what? I don't need no quarterbacks. That's what I don't. I don't need any, none. So yeah, really solid running back room though. AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, Darnell Mooney, Stephon Diggs, Xavier Leggett, DeAndre Hopkins, Cavante Turpin time. Love Turpin time. Tight ends, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Hunter Henry. Yeah. Nope. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of into elite quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe round 18, 19, 20 quarterback finishing off Jameis Winston, Aaron Rodgers, hoping he signs somewhere, and Kenny Pickett, assuming they don't do anything. Maybe that's the strategy you need. Jameis Winston, Aaron Rodgers, Kenny Pickett. There we go. We're in. Yeah, or Milrow. Milrow works too. Yeah, I do. Back to this though. I do like this. Both rookies and somebody to kind of string it along in case one of them doesn't perform. That's really good. AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, like, yeah, this is a very strong wide receiver room too. Diggs kind of a question, but you drafted the guy in round 1 and 3 to then hopefully like one of those guys just spikes each week to give you your third spot and maybe your fourth as well. Like you're solid enough at every position that any position is live to go to your flex spot. So all in all, I really like it. Like Jalen Hurts having the ceiling he has is actually awesome. And then I do kind of like taking Richardson with that. Did you actually get a stack with either one of them? What's your plan with Jameis? Was it just a fun click? I take it. Like if if Jameis plays 7 or 8 games, his ADP in that area is going to be perfectly fine. Maybe you just hope that it's at the end of the season, which is the least likely thing. Yeah, yeah. I mean that's fine. Like I can't remember what his he had what like a 30 some point fantasy game last year. But the thing is if that happens, most other people who have Jameis are going to have a piece. And if he does that, he's not getting rushing touchdowns. So if it's Darius Slayton with 2 touchdowns, you're going to probably be battling against that. Um, but for the regular season weeks, like if you have just want Jalen Hurts as his own, like all the way through the playoffs, if he's number one all the way through or something. Like, it doesn't matter. The spike weeks those guys give early is fine. Oh, okay. Yeah. That seems. I bet. I mean, Jameis would do anything you ask him to at quarterback. So, but anyway, I appreciate you coming out. I am gonna go. Have a great night.